Sports. I'm having a chat with Billie Marten. How are you?
Hello, I'm really happy, really good.
Good.
Yeah.
You've kind of just started off a nice big long run of tour dates. How was
It's long.
how was yesterday and today into some smaller settings?
Well, the album came out yesterday, so that was an overwhelming day to say the least. And we started in Bristol, Rough Trade, lovely, lovely crowd, lots of great stories at signing. Just hearing public feedback from an album that you've kind of kept secret for 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, and the new record is out, Drop Cherries. For the people who haven't heard it yet, what can people expect to hear when they take a listen?
They can expect to hear an old-fashioned album, I guess. It was all done on tape, live recordings with my lovely band. Some musicians I'd not played with before, so it was really about human connection and really sort of bonding with people that understood the music.
And what was the reason behind doing it in that manner rather than the more modern, conventional way?
I think I've done it the other way a few times, and I always had this hankering of not layering up myself, basically, and just adding part after part after part, and maybe getting a drummer in one. You know, it was kind of a communal experience.
Yeah. And 4 records in now. How has the music evolved since the start?
Well, the first album was, I mean, you've got your whole life to make that one, and then from that point you've got a year and a half to make all the others. So I guess I started pretty young, so the first album is all about experiencing life as a singer-songwriter from the north, and I take a lot of inspiration from nature, and there's a lot of that in each album. But I guess, this one is coming from a different perspective in writing and looking at it from a positive perspective rather than the usual way I write, which is kind of getting things out by necessity, you know. Yeah.
And do you think you'll write like that going forward, or do you think it might end up being reverted back?
Who knows?
Yeah.
It's an unknown path that I'm walking down, but we'll see.
Good. And you must have written more music than what made it onto this record. What happens with those tracks now? Do you keep them for the future, or do you start afresh? What happens now?
They're always there on the back burner. It's good to kind of reinvent songs and demos that you maybe wrote 4 or 5 years ago, and just seeing how you can imbue a new life into them. But there's always a few extras that will then get passed on to the next record.
Yeah, great stuff. And as I mentioned, you're starting a nice long run of dates across Europe and here in the UK. A couple of supports in there as well with Eels and a date with the Lumineers.
Oh, yeah. So Eels starts next week after the end stores. That's Europe for 2 weeks. Then I come back to do UK tour in May. And then I fly out to America to do US tour in June. Come back for summer, and Crystal Palace is there. Yeah, waiting for me.
And then we're hitting festival season. Are you hoping to be on some festival dates this year?
There's a few. I think we're sort of working towards the outer regions, so trying to not look at music from just a London perspective, I guess. But I've done lots last year, and we'll do them next year, I hope. But you never know. Yeah.
Excellent. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the writing process. So how do tracks normally start off for you? Do lyrics come first? Does the melody come first? How do things kind of start off normally for you?
It's different every time. Some of this record was done with riffs that I'd had for months, and then slowly lyrics and ideas develop on top of that, and then other songs were sort of written in poem form, and then later the melody came after. Yeah.
And once you've kind of got the demo sorted, how does it turn into a full track once you step foot into the studio?
I think it's just looking at it, evaluating what is appropriate, never plastering too much over the raw song, which I think is kind of my ethos. Less is more, I'd say.
Yeah, excellent. Well, Billie, it's been a pleasure
having
a chat with you.
Yes,
Thank you very much. Cheers.